Good evening, everyone. The talk is about to start in 5 minutes. Please get ready and be seated. Hello everyone, please be seated and get ready. The talk is about to begin very soon. Good evening, everyone. Please be seated as soon as possible because the talk is going to begin now.
Good evening. I'm Karina from CTU.
I'm Andy from DBS. And before we start the talk, please reserve some time to have an overview of AI first.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be really hard to develop computers and intelligence that will have emotion.
But I can definitely see some of the job force being replaced by AI, such as potentially coders or maybe accountants.
Again, welcome to all to tonight's talk, a collaboration between DBS Bank Hong Kong Limited and CTU Apps Lab.
Thank you. And one of the many good things about this collaboration is that we young minds have a chance to meet many professionals and experts in this field. And I'm so glad to meet all of you here.
Since you have already touched upon intelligence, I'm kind of jealous of AI machines like AlphaGo. They can learn a lot in a short period of time effortlessly.
I think AlphaGo does not need to learn a lot, but actually their engineers have to learn a lot and do a lot of research and study. And if you don't know, actually, AlphaGo is the current world champion of Go, a Chinese-style chess. And I know many of us don't feel easy when we know that actually we are badly beaten by robots.
Exactly. But smarter machines are in fast racing. This one dystopia view of AI is the popular theme of drama today. But today, we are beside so many experts. I'm sure we'll have a much clearer picture of how AI is going to change our world from different perspectives.
So to start tonight's event, we are so glad to have invited Gaurav, Senior Vice President, Data Management Analytics from DBS to start tonight's event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone, and a very warm welcome to the 7th installment of DBSxCAL Talk. Yep. And I'm really amazed to see a house full of the people on a Friday evening. That people have left their happy hours to join here. So must be something interesting about this CAL Talk. So for those of you who are new, probably we just mentioned that DBSxCAL Talk started about 2.5 years, right? And this is our 7th one, and it has been an amazing journey since then. We have covered several topics of interest. So the idea was to bring together the academia, the industry, and the startup world into a common place and learn and share about the latest tech. And then from there take inspirations, go back and innovate. And right from like 2 years back, it was a very small platform, I would say, largely open to CTU students as well as DBS employees. And here we are today with a house full. And if I'm not wrong, if I try to look at faces, about 90% is outside these two places. So that is the kind of popularity the platform has gained. And today the subject we have is AI, and pretty interesting, probably the hottest topic out there in the market, and which, if most of you would know, that 10 years, 15 years back, it wasn't as hot. It was probably meant for some nerds out there, scientists doing something with artificial intelligence, neural network, whatnot. That kind of reminds me of my own experience. I mean, I was kind of a junior business analyst, and we had the head of IT, he had a PhD in neural networks. And most of us were like, what is this nerd? Probably this guy doesn't have an intelligence of his own, and therefore he needs artificial intelligence to augment it. Fast forward 2011, artificial intelligence beats the human intelligence. That is what we were hearing about AlphaGo. 2011 it was the game of Japan, and 2016 we had Google AI defeating human beings in the game of AlphaGo. I think if some of you would have heard of, by the end of 2016 we had another very silent declaration by Google that its translator started learning to it by itself. So the Google Translate has been taught to translate between two languages, but it develops an internal language of its own, which is an abstraction of all the languages. So you don't need to teach translation about each one of them. So that is amazing that where the AI is going. And the applications we have in our daily lives, chatbots, robots, self-driving cars, facial recognition, whatnot. So it is an amazing world out there, but at the same time, I would say, to err on the side of caution or to be cautiously pessimistic, there are areas that one needs to worry about. Things like implications in the military, implications on individual privacy. Right? And biggest one that most of us are bothered about, I was talking to someone earlier also, is employment. What happens to my job once AI comes in? Will robots take over? So with that brings me back to the topic for the day. It is humans versus artificial intelligence, whether we are here to compete or to collaborate. So with that, without taking much of the time, I open the floor up to the speakers. Thank you.
Yeah, and before the four speeches of our wonderful speakers, we also like to invite Dr. Ray to open this forum for us, please. Dr. Ray, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is my 7th time standing right here to tell you more about the mission and the goal of this DBSxCAL talk. In the past journey, we kind of ignite the mind from our students. So you can see in the past, we actually have some students, they thrive on this startup culture. And we are so delighted to tell you, we do have some student team, they're able to join the DBS Accelerator from CityVille. So this is not what we want to achieve yet. As you can see tonight, we have 4 prominent speakers from Hong Kong and also from Beijing. Okay? So we would hope that someday our graduate trainee and also the students from City University, they could stand right here to give their own sharing. So this is our goal and our mission. And I would like to pass on the time to our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. And now I'm more eager to know about AI. I'm sure that AI is no longer the professional of banks or tech giants. The more we understand it, the sooner it will bring changes to every aspect of the society.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the speakers will definitely blow your mind because they're going to share a lot of insights into AI.
I'm sure they will. And after each sharing, you'll have a chance to interact with our speakers. Please remember to share your idea and ask questions.
Yes, don't forget your questions. Okay. Don't forget your questions and let them go to waste.
The first company to share AI with us is Microsoft. Mr. DeLong Yao, Technical Evangelist in the Developer Experience Group at Microsoft Hong Kong, will guide us through the gospel of AI tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'm DeLong, a technical evangelist from Microsoft. So first of all, I would like to thank DBS and CTU App Lab for having me here tonight to share with all of you about our latest AI technologies. So the topic for today is AI versus human, collaborate or compete. Well, this is a very interesting topic, and I know there have been lots of debates on this topic recently, and this absolutely makes sense because we often see headlines talking about like computers beating humans at especially games, right? Like the chess games, Jeopardy, checkers, or most recently the Chinese board game Go. So, however, from my perspective, computers may win at games, but imagine what's possible if humans actually work with machines to solve our society's greatest challenges. So I guess it's now the right time for a much greater coordination and collaboration on AI. So let me share with you a short story about a software engineer working at Microsoft. His name is Saqib Shaikh. So Saqib has actually developed technologies that help compensate for the sight that he lost at a very young age. So Saqib and his colleagues actually built applications that run on a small computer that he wears just like a sunglasses. Actually, this is done by leveraging our cognitive service APIs. For example, computer vision, voice recognition, natural language processing, or even advanced machine learning, etc. So, for example, so Saqib has a team, as I said before, Saqib has a team built technologies that run on small computer. So basically, the technology disambiguates and interprets the data for Saqib in real time. And in essence, technology paints a picture of the world for Saqib audibly instead of visually. So now he can experience the world in a much richer way. For example, connecting a noise on the street to a skateboarder, or a sudden silence in a meeting to what his coworkers might be thinking. And now he can even read the menu in a restaurant as his technology whispers in his ear. And perhaps most important to him, he's able to find his own loved ones in a bustling park where they are gathered for a picnic. So you may ask, why am I sharing with you this story? In Microsoft, we are actually building intelligence that augments humans' abilities and experiences. Ultimately, we want to see humans and computers to work together rather than compete with each other. However, some of you may still say oh, there will be a great reduction of jobs opportunities, right? However, I don't think this is totally true. Imagine when there is a lot of artificial intelligence, real intelligence will be scarce. Most importantly, real empathy will become scarce, and real common sense will be scarce. We can actually have new jobs that are predicated on these attributes, right? As of today, Microsoft is offering 22 different cognitive service APIs for everyone to use. In Microsoft, our aim is to democratize AI, to make it accessible to everyone. And many of our partners have been leveraging these APIs to add tons of business values to their solutions. So now, let me go ahead and share with you our cognitive service API and show you guys the capabilities of some of the APIs. So as you can see on the screen, this is the Microsoft.com/cognitive. So here you can see all the 22 cognitive service APIs that Microsoft is offering right now. And most importantly, they are all free to try. So basically you can try them out now and to see its capability. So for example, as you can see here, we actually proved our common service APIs into 5 main categories, namely the vision, speech, language, knowledge, and search. So now, in terms of vision, we have something called the computer vision API. So by uploading an image to this API, the API will actually feed back to you tons of valuable information. For example, a caption. As you can see, it says a man swimming in a pool of water with a confidence level of like 0.8. And also, it lists out all the attributes that are related to this image. For example, it detects water, sport, swimming, etc. And on the left-hand side, as you can see, it detects the face of the person, right? And also, it gives you an estimated age and also the gender as well. So this is the basic function of this computer vision API. And another worth mentioning API in vision is the emotion API. So not only detecting the face of the person, it also understands the emotion, of course by advanced machine learning, right? You need a really big data set to be able to do that. As you can see here, so all the faces are detected, and also it will give you their emotion as well. So later on, if I have time, I will show you a demo maybe in a later session that our Microsoft team has created that we can detect the emotion in real time. So another interesting API is the face API. So actually, our partner Uber is leveraging this API in the solution. So whenever a Uber driver is going to pick up a passenger, the Uber driver needs to have his or her face scanned. And by scanning his or her face, we are actually calling this face API to recognize whether he or she is the right driver. So that we want to, Uber just want to ensure the passenger will enjoy a safe journey. And by calling this API, we assign to you with a unique face ID. So the next time when you have your face scanned again, the same ID will be assigned to you, and our system will be able to recognize you. So this is the vision-related APIs. Now, let's jump into speech, which is really popular, right? So many of our partners have been developing their chatbots using our bot framework. And however, they want to extend the ability so that the chatbots can now understand a voice command rather than just textual command. So speech API is particularly useful in this case because we actually turn speech into text for further natural language processing. And also we have something called the custom speech service. So for example, if your chatbot is being used in a noisy environment, you can actually have customize acoustic model, which will be able to boost the accuracy of picking up and understanding the user's input. And apart from that, you can create your own language model so that it will be able to understand the particular vocabulary and others, the speaking style of the user even. And of course, you can deploy your model into an endpoint where you can call it from any platform, any device. So for language-related ones, we have something called the LUIS. I guess probably most of you have heard of this because if you have touched on our bot framework, you will know that LUIS is needed to perform natural language processing to understand your user's input, right? So now, I guess I will show you a quick demo of how it works. Basically, when you build your LUIS model, the most important thing is you have to define your intent and entities clearly so that LUIS will be able to understand the intent and entities of the user's input. And also, it has active learning and self-training ability. So the more you chat with the bot, the more intelligent it will be, which is really amazing. So now let me go to the Lewis portal. Alright, so I have already opened up the Lewis portal. So as you can see, imagine I am building a chatbot that has the ability to book a flight and also give out some weather information. So the two intents will be book flight and get weather. And the entities, of course, will be, for example, when the user asks about if he or she wants to book a flight, they need to give us the origin, the destination, right? And also if they want to ask whether they need to give us the location. So we have all these entities already inputted. So now let me type in a sample sentence, which we call it utterance. So now, the input sentence is pretty straightforward. So I just asked when's the weather in Seattle this weekend. Maybe I will refresh the screen as it's not responding well. So, all right, let me try again. So now, as you can see on the right-hand side, it detects that the intent is get weather, which is correct, because I have already trained this Lewis model pretty often. And also, as you can see, it brackets the Seattle term because it recognizes Seattle is the location. And also, because if you remember, I put in what's the weather like in Seattle this weekend? Automatically, it detects that this weekend is a daytime entity, right? So this is the feature. I will try another input sentence. So now I'm asking Lewis, help me book a flight from Hong Kong to Beijing next Wednesday. So now Lewis automatically detects that it's a book flight intent, and the Hong Kong to Beijing now turns from location to location, and also it successfully detects that next Wednesday is the daytime. So this is the basic function of Lewis model. So apart from language-related ones, we also have something called the recommendation API. So if you are running like an e-commerce store, if you want to build your own product recommender, which is quite tedious because you have to deal with like content-based filtering, collaborative filtering, or you need to build a matchbox recommender to send out recommendations. However, with this API, you don't need to build your own training model. You just need to provide us with two files, which are the catalog files and the usage file. The catalog files will contain, for example, product ID and product description and name, and the usage file, which is really important because you need to give us those events between the user and the interaction between the user and the products. For example, the add to cart, whether it is a purchase, something like that, we take into account all this information, and we actually give out the top 5 most relevant products when a user selects any items in your store. So I'm not going to do a demo now as time is running out, so feel free to ask me any questions related to the AI quality service APIs that we are offering. Are there any questions? Yeah.
About voice recognition, in China,
Yeah.
language composed of, say, Taiwan and also many dialects. Is it a problem for the machine to understand?
Yes, definitely. So this is a common problem that most of us are facing right now. Because in Hong Kong, the speaking style is a bit different because we mix a lot of English terms in our Cantonese sentence. So this part is still not perfect, to be honest. However, However, you should actually bring up to me, actually I forgot to mention about a translator API. So now in Microsoft, the translator API is actually powered by neural network. So actually later on, I might give you a small demo to show the difference between the traditional statistical translator and our neural network powered translator. So our neural network powered one is much more accurate than the statistical one. So yeah, but the answer to your question is that for candidate sentence, which has like English terms inside sentence, the solution is, the recognition part is not perfect yet. Yeah, so that's the answer.
Last year, Microsoft released an AI bot on Twitter that was taught by the community to quickly promote Nazi sentences. Where do you put the limit and the control on your AI learning from the open community?
Yes, that's why we have rules which allows the programmers to define the intents and entities. So whenever we have any sort of unwanted or some irrelevant inputs, so actually they will fall into the non-categories in our rules model. And also we have something called the content moderator API, because I don't have time, too much time today, so, but this one is actually filter all the unwanted materials and any adult materials, so you'll be able to use this API to do all the filtering jobs. And also, we have something called the application insight, which allows you to detect whether your bot is like behaving as expected. So we have all these kind of tools to help you monitor your chatbot to make it like as healthy as possible. Any other questions? So I guess I don't have time to show the short video, right? All right, then I will hand over to.
Maybe we can.
Oh, okay. Because that's the video about Sakib, the software engineer that I just mentioned in the very beginning. So I guess it's worth watching.
Looking happy. Yeah, describe the general age and gender of the people around me and what their relations are, which is incredible. One of the things that's most useful about the app is the ability to read out text. Thank you. I can use the app on my phone to take a picture of the menu, and it's going to guide me on how to take that correct photo.
Move camera to the bottom right and away from the document.
And then it'll recognize the text. Read me methods.
I see appetizers, salads, paninis, pizzas, pasta.
Years ago, this was science fiction. I never thought it would be something that you could actually do. But artificial intelligence is improving at an ever faster rate. And I'm really excited to see where we can take this. As engineers, we're always standing on the shoulders of giants, building on top of what went before. And in this case, we've taken years of research from Microsoft Research to pull this off.
I think it's a young girl throwing an orange frisbee in the park.
For me, it's about taking that far-off dream and building it one step at a time. I think this is just the beginning.
So that's the end of our session, and hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you, Frank. And the second speaker is David. And David is the Business Development Director in Higher Education and Research at Nvidia, and known for his experience in the IT industry. He has contributed to a lot of projects of AI before. So please, David.
Good evening, everyone. 大家晚上好。My name is David Yuan. Sorry. Okay. My name is David. I'm now in charge of Nvidia higher education, research, and medical industry in China. And so maybe you are not why today we have IBM, Oracle, and Microsoft, the most successful IT companies. But why Nvidia? I think not just because the fact is the growth of our stock price, but because of the Nvidia drive the AI progress. So let me short time to introduce Nvidia's company. We founded it in 1993, and now we have until now we have only 4 product line. Our product is for the visual computing. So now we have the product for the gaming, our display card, and we have our hardware for the visualization, professional visualization, and our GPU for the data center, and our chip for the autonomous, like the auto robotics. Okay. So now the game is today. Without the Nvidia, we can say without the gaming industry. 那现在呢，有超过2个亿的这个游戏的玩家每天晚上呢都是在等着用这个 Nvidia 最新的科技才能这个 game. Okay, so now you know the VR. So now Nvidia is the leader in the VR. 这些headset and the VR game developed, they were based in our technology, the VRWorks, the platform to develop their games. Also, we have the part of the visualization workstation, number 1. And now, you can see this building is our new headquarters in Silicon Valley. But this is under construction. But you can use our iRay technology. You can see the light, the shadow, and materials. Like 100% 可以这样仿真。And if you see the 所有的这个医学 CT、MRI 后面都会有一个 Nvidia 的 workstation here. And now we build the first GPU. Now Nvidia will announce with IBM in the end of this year we have the latest world number 1 supercomputer in the world. So the first product line is our chip. Now we have a chip to empower the 汽车这个面部的所有的视觉效果已经可以转变，任何的转变。And we also have a brand of the auto drive. 大家可以看到说这台机器，这上面呢有4 our chips, and we have 12 camera connector, and we have a sensor on this. This brand we sell to the 汽车厂。现在呢，几乎所有的这个 automobile 就是汽车厂都想要用到这个盒子。这个盒子售价呢是好几万美元，是卖给他。我们最早在做汽车的时候，就是跟特斯拉汽车在合作。那现在呢，已经 超过了10 million cars developed our chips。而且呢，往后呢，整个的改变包括你看这些无人机、机器人 ，and also the IBM 那些surveillance 这些监控的上面呢，都已经被 integrate 到我们的 chip。这个小小的 chip 就是 1 teraflop computing power。所以说以后呢 ，we said all the autonomous, each one 都是一个 supercomputer。这是 Nvidia 现在的一个 vision。OK， so 那现在呢 ，Nvidia 已经是一个叫做 AI 的 computer company。我们的产品线有从最小的 chip 到 supercomputer，然后呢，我们现在呢跟在all of the 这个是所有的这个做deep learning 的这些 framework，Nvidia 都做了非常好的优化。然后呢，你再看上面的话，就包括像Microsoft，包括阿里。 包括Amazon， 包括 IBM， 他们的 cloud 上面的话呢，都已经 enhance our GPU。And we have many collaborations with our customer, with the academic for the AI. So in how to use the GPU, we have two things. One is the computational science. 在做什么流体力学啊、模拟啊这些的话，你都会用到 GPU 去 base 去 accelerate。那第二个部分的话就是什么 data science， 就是everybody now know the AlphaGo. The AlphaGo over 200 GPU in 这个 AlphaGo. So you can see the auto drive and how to cover the cancer. Is all need the AI technology. 那从最早以前我们在讲说 BI， 对不对 ？Business Intelligence， 到现在呢，以后呢，所有的我们认为说 all the industry will be the AI industry, all the company will be the AI company. 那for the AI， 现在呢最主要就是 through deep learning， 我们做很多的这个神经网络神经网络你可能去drive它。但是做这个 deep learning 呢，你有3个最主要的要素第一个你要 big data，right？ 你要你的 big data。当你有 big data 的时候呢，那很多的 professors、researchers they will build modeling and training this data。当你这2个都有之后的话呢，你可能最需要什么？就需要 GPU， 就需要 GPU。为了你可以看this is the Google brand built in 2010在2012年的时候呢，在 build 这个他们买了1000个1000 server to build the Google brand。但是呢，在 next year Dr. Andrew Ng 在Stanford AI Lab， 他呢买了3台的 server，3 server， 每个 server 上面放了4个 GPU， 所以呢，他花了33,000块，说这2个的 performance 是一样的，你看，所以 you can see the GPU how to improve the AI。所以有很多的 professor 看到我之后很高兴，他说：“哎呀，以前我在做这个 AI 的 research 10几年前，但是呢就 stop， 为什么？因为没有 computing power。But now because of the Nvidia, we can do it again. So now deep learning is everywhere. 你可以在很多的行业上面都可以看到，比方说在做这个voice， 刚刚Microsoft 的demo 了很好的 voice recognition and the face recognition。现在呢，其实更多的行业都在做这个 AI， 都在做 AI。那我举个例子，像北京大学找我去这个文学院，说他们要做 deep learning， 我就奇怪，但他又不是 computer science， 他在读一个 deep learning， 可是他要做什么语义语法这个去做 deep learning。然后呢，那个北京 Normal University 找我去，说这个他是 Department of Education， 找我去说他要做 deep learning。那我也觉得很奇怪所以你要做 deep learning 做什么？他说要做这个student 的 face， 这个还有这个 motion 的 recognition。那以后 teacher 在上这边看的时候，如果大家很 concentrate， 对不对？teacher have a monitor is green light， 你们上班那个yellow， so it was really interesting。OK， 我觉得我最想跟大家 share 的是this chart。This chart is our customer who studying the deep learning. You can see in 在13年的时候only 100 customers, and then to the end of the 2015, it's close to the 3.5,000这么多。那最大的一块是 higher education research。And then the second is the internet company, Google, Facebook, Ali, I do. So I have a forecast last year for this chart. I think in the end of the last year, I think that this number will close over the 10,000, right? But this is our this is the real， 就是实际的状况是在去年the end of the 2016，我们已经到了将近2万个客户在做这个 deep learning， 而且很重要的是说，你看这个 grade 的部分突然变得很大。在上一年的时候呢，这个 grade 的部分 others very small but now the others very gross， 就是表示有更多的其他的行业都在放在这个deep learning， 尤其是像现在在冰品我们在中国很多银行的客户都主动找我们，希望说能够去做更多的这个 deep learning。OK， 那因为时间的关系，我就把后面现在呢我们在做些什么东西那 Nvidia 第一个在做这个 AI 的 transportation， 我们跟百度跟这个 Contact 在这合作的做以后的这个无人车这个 Auto Drive 的 transportation， 我们在做这个 AI 的工具我们呢跟刚好在 IBM 跟 Microsoft 都有合作那另外呢我们现在呢跟做什么？在做Kindle 这个 Kindle 这个问题是我 project for the cancer discovery。Nvidia 以前都是做 chip chip， but we announced 我们第一台 supercomputer。This is 3U 这一台3个 U 的这个机器里面有8片我们的 GPU。那这一个这一台 server 呢，它等于是什么？等于是250台的 PC server 在跑这个deep learning 的时候，这对 1 equal to 250 PC servers， 这是我们的在现在非常 hard 的一个东西。那我们自己也把它 build 了一个 supercomputer， 那是世界上50500就是最节能的这个机器。那现在呢，我们把这个机器呢用在做这个 cancer 的一个 study。那做什么？做这个药物的开发做药物开发，还有自动的诊断。我们现在跟很多的这个国家都有合作。那我们在今年呢，我们最后的发展为什么？第一个，自动驾驶，Auto Drive。那我们的自动驾驶呢，现在车那我等一下给大家看一下。那第二个呢 ，Nvidia 还做一个很奇怪的东西，叫什么 ？Copilot 因为我们认为说，真正的自动驾驶可能还要3年、4年之后，但是呢，怎么样可以来做到去 help 的 driver？OK， so the Copilot， 你可以看到它做什么 face recognition， 头部的追踪、脸部的追踪，还有你的唇可以去做这样。比如说，它当你发现这个driver 是非常 upset， 它可能就告诉你说，remind you， 回答，或者是它自动把你的车停到旁边去，不让你去开。我们在做这个部分。然后呢，我们还要做什么 Home AI？ 比较 Home AI， 那我们有一个 Spark， 它会可能像 Google 像 Microsoft 你回到家你说一说话，它就开始帮你把这个音乐打开，把什么东西都打开，这是很有意思。因为时间的关系，我大概跟大家 share 说我们现在在做的东西。然后呢，还有一个部分的话，就是说，我想给大家看的，就是 Nvidia 有非常的 SDK， 你要做 deep learning， 你要做 self-driving car， 做 VR， 做 gaming， 所有的东西我们都非常多的这个 SDK， 这才是 Nvidia 真正的价值。所以你都可以到我们的网站上去 download 这些 SDK 去做这个我们很多的 professor 很多 researchers use our SDK to develop。OK， 那还有一个，如果说这边有对这个 deep learning 很有兴趣的人可以来看看我们这个叫 Nvidia DBSxCAL。This is open source, free open source for 让大家可以很最简单的方式就可以来开始做 deep learning。他会教你一步一步怎么去做这个，怎么去输入你的 data， 怎么去把你的copy 的这些 DNN， 这是一个非常好的工具，免费的我希望说大家可以都来使用，谢谢。
Please take your hand for the Q&A section first. So before the Q&A section, I'd like to do a summary of like what is just shared by David. Basically, I think we have to think about AI from another perspective, not just about the software perspective. It's not just about the software, hardcore coders. We also have to upgrade our computers. And Nvidia is extremely talented to build great CPUs, and that's exactly how they can help us to take AI to another level, so that we are more capable in terms of hardware to build greater, more sophisticated AI to improve our life as well as our life to help the patients in terms of the diagnosis part. So thank you, David, very much. So are there any more questions for David about the presentation, about the sharing?
You didn't talk much about the new business model to be basically GPU as a service, right? On the cloud. Maybe can you talk a little bit about that, how that's being rolled out and potentially in the
因为现在呢，就是在 GPU 的 power 上面，现在因为大家还是很多人会觉得 GPU 的成本很高的所以的话呢，我们现在在 GPU 的上面的话呢，就是我除了说跟阿里啊这些在合作，把它给放到了这 GPU Cloud， 让大家可以更容易的去用到之外，其实我们在 Cloud 上面还有一个很重要的一个技术，是做什么？做 GPU 的 virtualization。就是做虚拟化virtualization 做虚拟化，我们可以把一个 GPU 呢，可以把它给 distribute 到64个或者是更多的一个 station 然后呢，当现在比方说你做 cloud 的时候，很多时候要做 VDI 上面呢，你用 listing time 然后你用的最简单的 PC， 你就可以上面去跑什么 3D 跑一套 3D， 还有很多的video， 你就可以跑得非常快速。这是我们现在在这个 cloud 上面很重要的一个
我也知道你们公司是有 Amazon 是你们的客户之一嘛，但是我最近看了在 Las Vegas 那个 Wynn Hotel 就是用了Amazon 那个 Echo， 就是说跟就是说一讲话就会有开灯的声音那些。那我想问，如果比如说一个 international 的 tour 去 Las Vegas 的话，那个人不会英文，那个如果是讲中文，那个 AI 会听得懂吗？
我觉得现在很多的 translator 已经可以做得很好了，我想应该不会有什么太大的问题。
请问你们现在有没有打算研发那个 TPU？
TPU， 这是 a good question。其实呢 ，Nvidia 在看这个整个 GPU， 还有现在有新的叫 TPU，many chips。在 in China， 他们也造了说有这其他的这航母系啊这些 chips。那 Nvidia 的认为是说，我们想要做的是可以一条像高速公路一样。很多的车子，大家很多人可以在上面很快速的去把这个 AI 的技术呢，把它给 enhance 起来。但是呢，有很多的东西呢是，比方说你要去做，特别有一些小路才能够到达的地方，那这些是什么？可能是 TPU 他们要去做的，或者其他的chip要去做的。那 Nvidia 呢，不会目前呢，应该还没有说想要去进到这个市场，但是呢，我们肯定有很多的 research 已经开始在看这个东西了。只是说目前我们还没有这些的发布，但是呢，我们可以把我们的 GPU 做一个 generous 的态度，让大家可以在上面，我们有更好的 tool， 更好的 library， 让大家可以更快的去使用它。
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, David. And now we have another AI giant, Oracle, to share other AI experience with us. Today we have another talent from Oracle, Patrick. He's a Senior Director at Financial Service Global Business Unit. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you. Let me thank DBS together with the city you having me here. Pleasure to be here. Good to share some of the thought that Oracle has been in the space of the artificial intelligence. Can you hear me actually? Okay. So thank you once again. Let me start with a conversation. Actually, last night, my wife told me that she's interested in a vacuum cleaner, which is just like a robot. actually can put into the household, take pictures of the entire home, and then assemble the picture and identify those dirty corners. And I said, hey, wait a moment, if this is something that you want to buy, so would they actually take pictures of myself, all my behavior inside my household, right? So this is something that very often when we try to look for the AI or machine learning, something actually we need to draw a line about it, privacy. And as you may know, actually for data, Oracle has been actually close to almost 4 decades, spending huge effort to try to see whether we can come up with the technology in managing the data and around the data. And along the journey, we found out that actually, on the journey, we actually found out that the cycle of the technology adoption has been shortened. Talk about, say, for years, we used the internet, even during my old days, during the undergraduate program. I don't even have an email internet access. And then eventually we talk about the mobile. So the slogan for the last couple of years talk about applications mobile first. And then we talk about the chatbot. So shorter and shorter technology development. And also nowadays we download a lot of apps, and I see that some of the major providers, like Tencent, they're trying to see come up with something so that we no longer download app at all. Just use it, and then you don't need to use it. Then you can actually forget it. So we see one thing that the messaging platform are getting more stickiness with the consumer. And the next killer apps is the bot. So we use like call it robot or chatbot or whatever. So the bot is actually the story. I'll talk about from artificial intelligence, and 2 speakers also highlight some of the examples that gradually the big brother behind, which is the robot, can do something. And what I will try to illustrate, actually I'm with the banking solution team for quite a while with Oracle, and we actually try to provide the technology not only from a theoretical point of view, but actually let the bank test those technology, use it in a real-life example. So in the next couple of minutes, I actually try to show 2 examples, real-life for banking. That is, from say artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics. What exactly the bank actually used technology to improve the way they serve consumers, to improve how to smartly sell or cross-sell the products or services for corporations or consumers. And in the next couple of minutes, I will mention 3 things which I come across quite often during the demonstration. One is called the intent. I understand that Delon also mentioned the word intent. Primarily, is in the machine learning world, the intent means what are you going to do? So it's fundamentally what's in it for me, right? What are you going to do? The second thing is entities. Entities actually refer to the value or the parameters that the machine need to understand. So for example, if you're talking about 3 banking accounts as a consumer, the bank need to know, are you talking about saving account, current account, checking account, or credit card, or mortgage? So it's not just you try to do something. The machine is a machine. They need the parameters or the quantitative aspect in order to understand what the consumer or the human being is looking for. The third thing is actually talk about the eutheresis. Eutheresis is actually how to understand people talk, the way they talk. Because for example, what's the banking balance? Or what is the banking balance yesterday for my credit card account? So the more precise we talk with the computer will come up with something more relevant for us. So let me go to the demo, and then I'll walk you through some of the interesting things. So this is one of the interface the bank has been using to develop the bot, which is the robot, right? In order to understand how to serve the consumers. So in this demo, you see different board, even a pizza, financial bank, etc. I'm trying to actually use the financial board, and then I click into it, and then I edit it. Now this is something that's quite interesting. When you load into the edit, So this is normally the bank's IT team or something has a little bit of knowledge about artificial intelligence. On the left-hand side, you see we have the flows. The flows later on I'll explain. It's actually the process, how computer interact with consumers, the process, under different situations. Intent is the fundamental way to diagnose what the human being or the consumer look for. So what is the objective, right? What's it looking for? Entities, I just mentioned it, is actually dealing with the parameters of values for different situations, so that the computer can make decisions to serve the consumers. Now for this intent, I try to build some things that the bank or the consumer, very often when they use, even including myself, right? When we use the mobile banking, usually I care about the balances, inquiry about the balances, doing some transactions, doing mobile payment, maybe I have some lunch with my peers, I share my money, or I need to pay bills, right? Or doing some FAQ, if I do business travel, I lost my credit card. So how can I handle it? How can I cancel it? A lot of frequently asked questions. Send money, application, applying for mortgages, applying for a tax loan, etc., withdrawal, etc. So every single intent we try to come up with some example, what usually the consumer or the customer may actually ask for, talking to the robot. So when we actually categorize the intent, every intent the bank need to design what would be the likely scenario in a real-time manner on what would be expected to handle. And then the entities actually dealing with the date, time, number, a lot of what we call the parameters. So those parameters actually can trigger and support different scenarios in order to actually make decisions or recommend something. So when we try to configure, now for example, banking account, as I just mentioned now, we will set saving, checking, credit card as fee entities, so that whenever we come into a situation, we know how to handle it. Now, when you configure the robot, then you will put values in between. And one thing would be the machine learning. The machine started to learn it. So usually we would put some sample iterations in order to highlight what usually a consumer or human being will ask. So for example, and this is how we handle the natural language. For example, what's my balance? With the apostrophe S, or how much money do I have? How much money did I save? Or what is the current balance of my CC? So CC stands for what? Current account? Maybe, or may not be. So when we're dealing with the natural language, we try to come up with some materials so that at least the computer will try to diagnose the situation. And then we do some testing here. So we put an intent. Let me say I type what is my balance, right? What's my balance? Okay. Then I test the computer, right? This is the machine learning. And the confidence that, oh, this particular consumer is looking for the exact balances. Then I will try to see whether I can generate something. Or how much did I spend on gas last week? This is something what we call the tracking of the spending. So this is something that we need to track spending category. So we keep learning. Let using neural network, using neural network to learn what would be the question and how likely we will hit the button to spot on the exact answer from the question. Or pay the babysitter. So say $50. When we try to teach the robot, you see one entity would be the account, the babysitter. The other one is the number, which associate with the amount that we are going to pay for this babysitter. So to cut a long story short, is actually we use the learning to start making the intent and entities meaningful with a real life for consumers. So when you try to train the neural network or train the robot, actually this is something. Now, how along the conversation, we are dealing with two aspects: the state of the conversation, and there will be some uncertainty about the conversation, just like us among human beings. How this robot need to actually react to this uncertainty. Left-hand side is very IT, right? It's what we call a YAML representation. Primarily is to describe for the robot under what state along the processes what we need to do, whether we have sufficient information or data or insufficient information. So for example, let's say, again, we use the check the balances, the banking balances as an example. If I type something to check the balances, and then how we actually to dealing with this message variables in order to react from the robot. So I try to use the check balances as an example. And again, if I put here to inquire about the credit card balances, the robot is slower than me, right? Obviously, I'm faster. So this is the beauty of human being, right? We can think fast and then talk fast. And testing the dog vote, and then we try, hey, move on, robot, right? Credit card balances. So what's the credit card balances? And this is quite specific because I'm referring to the credit card account. And definitely I authorize upfront that this robot will actually can actually get into my access of my credit card number. And then it shows out there, oh, very specific. From the flow point of view, all the necessary data is available. Then even the negative balances, which is a credit account, right, can be shown on the spot. But if I test the report again with what's my balance, then one thing would be a little bit unclear would be which account are you talking to. So again, go back to the entities. And if I answer, oh, I'm actually care about the checking account, then I press checking, then you will show the checking account with the account number and the associated balance in a real-time manner. So this is something that the bot, we need to develop the flow so that in a real-time manner, under uncertain or certain situation, the robot can still react or remind the user to actually get it done. And the next thing would be, oh, can I actually deploy into because this is something behind the bank, right? So I need to configure a channel. Talk about how to actually use for the consumer. So let's say, for example, because in my demo environment, I'm already using the Facebook Messenger as the channel. But what about I use a web application, or actually a mobile phone application? So I actually quickly put it into the mobile to develop another one through the webhook channel, meaning that we have an iOS, and then I create an iOS again. And then I will generate the iOS channel. And then this one will actually become an app. You can download from the App Store or from whatever platform. And then when I use the app, I can still using the same similar way to actually try to use the function. Now, communicating with the bot actually not necessarily is typing or text. Let's say, for example, if we use the Apple Siri function, and then we just press into the Siri and then telling the bot what we're going to do. So we press the Siri and then telling the bot about, or say what I spent on travel last year. And then it actually talks to the core banking system at the back end and then come up with the response on the fly. So, oh, you spent about $103.28. And then, again, I am trying to, I'm more interested in talking to the bot about my gasoline spending. Because in US it's very sensitive. Everybody care about the gasoline price. So, oh, even with some typo. So gas spend last week. So we went back to the back end, the system, and then come back with the amount. So there's something that it can be up and running. We have actually banks using this technology in UK, in US, Australia is trying to experiment it. The Netherlands has been moving fast. So we do see that some of those financial institutions have been using it. And then we move to the Facebook Messenger as another channel. Now this one, we do payment on the fly. So again, you are leveraging social media and use the Facebook Messenger and pay Amex. Now pay Amex, deduct money from which account? Same thing, right? Same example. So again, the back end will go back to this one, which account, and it will populate on the fly, or on the phone, which account are we actually trying to deduct the money for this payment. and then we pick the checking account, and then just enter the amount, and then go back to back end authorization. Actually, the back end in the bank, we have a lot of processes and systems. However, on the front end, it's very simple, and then you got authorization, clear, and then it will acknowledge the payment has been made fully on the fly, on the social media platform. So this is something that we do see very easy for the bank to deploy, but actually behind the scene, we have the processes. And this is another example, but given the limitation of time, this is actually using the Amazon Alasia. And the whole conversation, you talk to Alasia, and the bot will have you do exactly the same thing that I just showed. So given the remaining time, and I would like to talk and tell you another example, the second example. Our second example is actually more dealing with when we open a banking application, would it be just like mobile banking? This is Jenny. She's actually keeps saving money. So nowadays, we no longer talk about loan, deposit, credit card, loan, deposit, credit card. It's more like the lifestyle. So usually when we develop or help bank design a project, we develop persona for consumer. So maybe persona like me would be like, you know, a working class, 35 years old, working in the office, like to talk, that sort of people. So when we have the persona, we describe those people, how likely we as a bank can help them actually managing the expenses and also look forward for the saving goal. And eventually, we would like to actually come up with something. Oh, you're planning to buy a car or lease a car. But if you buy a car, what are the differences? What can it be done? And behind the scene, now those would be the consumer look at it, but this is important because the behind the scene for artificial intelligence or machine learning, trying to sell something, we will develop an architecture to collect a lot of the consumer sequential activities across all the channels, including the traditional, what we call the classical channel, like the branch, right, or call center. And then try to diagnose using quite a bit of the rules and method to diagnose what would be the likely choice among this consumer. And then we use the machine learning. If this is the choice for Patrick, would it be relevant for all the relevant peers or persona that the likelihood for me to buy a certain car would be high? So they actually try to answer two questions. Number one would be, how likely he or she will accept the marketing offer? And number two, how likely we can maximize our income from the banking perspective, right? For sure. So this is something that we try to use the different types of machine learning algorithm to come up with the result. And then we also want to filter the result before telling the consumer. The consumer, when they interact using mobile banking with the bank, probably just a few seconds. So it's just like every morning we walk into a restaurant, ordering breakfast, A 餐, B 餐, C 餐, ABC, right? Within a second, you know you go for ham or fried or whatever. So the filtering is important rather than you bombard him or her with 20 offers. Because we're talking about real life work. And eventually, this is the offer with this price that we understand it will maximize the chance the consumer will take the offer. Like Jenny, this example. And we are no longer dealing with a bank. You come over to the branch, loan deposit or credit card. We are actually nowadays competing with internet service providers, like all the major internet service providers. So the bank actually try to use the information on top of financial transaction, but actually passing the information along the value chain to the whole ecosystem. That is, for example, if bank actually operating big credit card business, it has a lot of merchants. And the merchants actually can enjoy with all this transaction. For Jenny to see, oh, this particular bank, I recommend you 15% off. You use the mobile coupon. And also make sure you relay back to the consumer. Ask her to put some photo or whatever back with comments on the whole transaction, including the auto loan. And those information will be very relevant. Put it into machine learning for the next one of the learning. So this is something that we're supposed to do. Yeah. And hopefully can share two examples. One would be how to design a bot so that the bot can actually understand the human, how they behave, and then communicate more effectively under different types of uncertain situations in a day-to-day manner. And the second one we talk about is how we can actually behind the scenes, what we call back-end processes, to understand the consumer needs and wants and then recommend something more tailored for the needs and wants. Welcome any questions before. Yes?
Hello. I noticed that the financial board, it was a kind of cloud service of your company, right? So I'm thinking that were there any banks have any kind of like security concerns because of it is using your cloud, or did you solve the security problems and how did you solve that?
Great question. Actually, very often when we talk about new technology, just like my vacuum cleaner example, right? The privacy of consumer data, etc. I think we look at it from 3 angles. It's not a simple question. Put it this way. The first angle would be to what extent the consumer or your existing banking customer actually authorize the bank to get to know at what level of information. Some consumer may actually probably allow the bank to do some marketing. Some consumer or customer may say that you cannot do anything at all. So at the first level would be the respect of the consumer's preference. The second level would be actually from a technological point of view, how secure will be data? Will it be firewall, technology, security, cyber attack, etc., etc. The third way would be for every country or what we call jurisdiction, the regulator's point of view. Because some of the regulators I see in the UK, they have, the fintech sandbox, letting some of the new ideas like this and use a certain amount of consumer data, but you need to mask the name of the consumer, right, to test the idea. Some bank, actually some of our financial institution clients actually use this sort of technology already, but they actually use it for certain purposes. For the board, it's services, again, 2 levels. Whether the consumer want to use the board just for inquiry of information, maybe look for a brochure, look for some news, or they want to use the board to do transaction. So this is something that we can actually come up with a more relevant approach, depending on situation by situation. Yes, please.
I've been thinking of this question recently, and I want to ask, what is the advantage of using chatbot to do the things of writing an apps? I mean, you can write an app to do the same thing, but why do we need to chatbot to do it?
I think there are different ways to look at it. If we are talking about, say, an apps for channel. Now, look at the example. In a real context, we see 3 things. Number 1, the channel for consumer. If every consumer actually download 27 apps every month, and eventually only give 3 apps, right? So 24 apps will be gone. So the stickiness of the channel will be something that we need to think about, right? It doesn't mean that the app cannot be very sticky, right? But at least we need to think about. The second thing would be from a chatbot development, the speed matters. That's why in my first line, the cycle of deployment of technology is very short. In the past, even when I did my undergraduate program, to the time I got internet access, it's almost a decade. So you know my age, right? but nowadays, probably we're talking about not months, but weeks. So again, the second thing, if we have something readily available, normally the community will just draw what is relevant and then try to pioneer it or test the idea and then use it. The third thing would be, again, back to the question, around a lot of the peripheral. Because nowadays we found that if we develop a killer app, but when we try to use it in a business context, it goes back to a lot of traditional, what we call, I don't say it's a problem or roadblocks, but actually challenges. Regulators, process, customer, back-end integration, a lot of the traditional. So on one hand, we are in the click world, but the brick world, actually, we still need to linkage it. So there's no way around, but probably some of the developers nowadays will try to leverage all the infrastructure and the ecosystem and use it.
Yeah, and the last
question
will be from this gentleman.
Question.
Yes, can you hear me from here?
Yes, pretty good.
Okay, great. With the new and upcoming technology of blockchains, one, I would like to see if you could kind of gauge if you think blockchains would be used in the financial services industry.
In the short coming term, So in the short run, do you think blockchains would be implemented in financial services? And if so, do you think that would change the chatbot, and how it processes and how it kind of interprets the data, given if we were to be using blockchains versus the current financial intermediaries?
Thank you. The first question, the quick answer would be yes. And even not only globally, but actually in Hong Kong, I do see the regulator, the Hong Kong MA, etc., together with some of the leading banks, has actually pioneered a test project in blockchain already. Talk about, say, inquire the valuation of property, the price, and try to see whether the blockchain is actually using the fintech platform to do something. So the answer is yes. We do see quite a bit of the blockchain initiatives actually moving fast in the Netherlands, in UK and Australia, and now Singapore and then Hong Kong, and also, interestingly, Shenzhen, the southern part of China, also got quite a bit of initiative. Not only using the blockchain, but actually using the blockchain specifically for some banking purposes. Would it be related to consumer marketing or even transaction related? So the first question would be yes. The second one, I think whether it replaces or competes with chatbot. And my answer would be, my observation would be actually it would be, let's see how things work. Because I do see both of them actually will complement with each other. And also, blockchain would be an infrastructure among quite a lot of things. Actually, we now have the emerging trend this year about the regulatory side, whether we can have the reg tech sort of things, right? But chatbot, no matter how the blockchain evolves, is still something that's quite obvious. You can start using machine learning to do something simple to start with. So both can be complementary.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone, thanks.
So if you have more questions, you can stay behind and there will be a demo session, and you can also talk to speakers and interact with them or have a personal experience of what actually AI is like in our real life now. So I think it's a wonderful moment for us to come to our last speaker, and she is Phaedra. But actually she is not here with us now, she's in the US. So how can we find her? Wow, she is here already. So hello Phaedra. Hello. Hello. Yeah, you look good. Morning, Phaedra, can you hear us? Oops, I guess, okay, so maybe before we reconnect to Phaedra, we can share some stories of Phaedra with you first. Okay, Phaedra, hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, great, wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here. Actually, I wish I could be there in person. It's always challenging doing this from so far away. But again, big thank you to Mustalin and the folks at DBS for the invitation. Hopefully one day I can be out there in person to meet with you all. My name is Phaedra Bonidius. I believe for gaming, serious games, and gamification at IBM. I'm also a member of IBM's Academy of Technology. And today, let me make sure you can see my screen. Share screens today. Okay, I am going to be presenting to you the intersection of cognitive computing and play. Hopefully you can see. Okay, great. So the way I'm going to begin is I'm going to describe to you that we live really in a deluge of data. We're swimming in a deluge of data. We've spent a significant amount of money coming up with the absolutely quintessentially perfect algorithm that helps to explain our data deluge. The challenge is that where you stop at the mining and the curation of data, you haven't made it actually meaningful to people. So that's what this talk is about. And how is it that once you've mined and curated big data, how do you actually get people to care? How do you make it actionable? And I'm not talking about dashboards per se or the visualization of the data. It's actually about motivational design and really how to bring meaning to it. So my secret sauce, what I'd like to propose to you is that to pull something like this off, you really need an intersection of two things. You really need an intersection of play and artificial intelligence. And I'm going to give you some examples first about what I mean with regards to play, and then how effectively artificial intelligence can be used in order to really disrupt this space and provide a tremendous amount of innovation. So, firstly, unfortunately I can't see you all, but I would normally ask you if you know what the average age of the gamer is today. This is actually a photo of my nephew Sebastian. When this was first taken, he was about 6 years old, and he plays all kinds of different strategy games. The average age of the gamer today is actually 35 years old. I was curious in the US, about 43% PC gamers and 38% of console gamers are women. And if you think about it, because of the demographics I just relayed to you, these are actually your employees and your customers. And this is not what we're playing. I don't know if any of you remember this or recognize this. But the games that we're playing today are incredibly sophisticated. In fact, if you think about it, they are wonderful metaphors and can be incredibly adept at explaining very complex systems. So, in addition, games are also really built on a foundation of motivational design, and they can be very, very powerful instruments of change. And I'll give you just a few examples of how we have used both serious games as well as gamification in order to tackle some tremendous challenges. So really quickly, the difference between serious games and gamification. Serious games are when you use a game to do something other than just entertainment. And gamification is when you use techniques from games in order to drive changes in user behavior in something that would otherwise not be a game. And we've used both significantly. To solve, again, these kinds of problems, we've made game-based programs for all of these things, the optimization of teams, using it for recruiting, crowdsourcing solutions. But really, what we see as the holy grail is the transformation of organizational cultures.
Despite your team's effort, you're woken in the night by phone. Your organization has been hacked. What do? Cybersecurity layers is a serious game environment where you explore your strategic options surrounding the threats to your organization. Hazardous Software's resequence engine enables players to edit and create resilient strategies against possible threats by treating time and causality as strategic tools. In today, Layers integrates all aspects of defending an organization against threats while maximizing integrity, availability, resiliency, and graceful degradation, along with confidentiality. This is the geospatial layer. Data center locations have an impact on your performance, costs, regulations, and the physical and cyber attack surfaces. The components layer represents the architecture of your network. You can experiment with how your organization can improve its architecture to reduce intrusion, losses, and the amount of data exfiltrated. The logic layer applies your business rules as they relate to cyber attacks. When do you shut down? How do you communicate with customers? What are acceptable business risks? Overlapping all the other layers is the personnel layer. Social engineering, physical security, and insider threats are part of any advanced cyber attack. Integrate with cloud services like IBM Bluemix to see your IT infrastructure correctly in the game. Integrate with Watson to receive instant feedback on creative strategies as you shape your sphere of influence and stress test your most bulletproof strategy. When your first line defenses fail, will your entire organization be resilient?
Great. So the question when you're thinking about the creation or the design of a serious game, which you have to spend most of your time doing, not just the serious game, but gamification, you need to think about what motivates your audience, what really drives people. And the way that we tackle this kind of a problem is through design thinking and doing design thinking workshops. Initially, really fleshing out what is your audience, what influences them, what drives them, what are they afraid of. So it's not just demographics, but you're really trying to get in deep with regards to their psychology. Then once you've done your persona work, you do journey map work, so you're trying to determine, once you've got an understanding of your audience, how is it that you might get them to initially adopt the experience? Embrace it and use it not just once, not just twice, but regularly as a part of their lives, and then eventually even becoming an ambassador. So it's a wonderful experience. If you've never done a design thinking lab, it's truly excellent. Now I'm going to shift into the world of artificial intelligence. I want you to start thinking about when you embed something like an AI, the ability to mine structured and unstructured data sets in order to find patterns. When you embed that kind of power into play, into a game, into a hyper-engaging application, I want you to start thinking about the kind of magic something like that could bring about. So, with our artificial intelligence, with our cognitive computing engine, Watson, we've got 4 major areas that we've been focusing on. So I'm going to walk you through each of these and then give you some examples of what it means in terms of play. So with the very first one, language. I don't know if you've heard of this example, but imagine that you can actually mine the emotions of people, the sentiments of people through either spoken word or written text. So in this example, at the Met Gala, as people were tweeting about the Met Gala and expressing emotions, the flowers on this gown by Marchesa would change colors. This has a tremendous impact. In fact, we're seeing a tremendous amount of interest in this as a means of being able to connect people to different kinds of programs or ideas. Imagine if you're driving up into the gateway of a city and you've got this iconic symbol that's changing colors based on how people are talking about the city. Or maybe there's a hashtag and people want to have a discourse about a specific kind of program information about a history of a game or a TV show, but also give you immediate diagnostic information about what's happening within your instance of play. So next, I'm going to roll you a bit of video. This is a project we actually did with the High School for Disadvantaged Teens out in Austin, Texas. And with this, they actually took the game Minecraft and they reskinned it and they wanted to integrate Watson within their instance of Minecraft. So if you please go ahead and roll the video.
This is an at-risk school with less than 2,000 people. The students come from a disadvantaged background, but it's my end game to make sure that these students go on to higher education or to get a job in the industry.
The students have modded Minecraft. In their version of the game, you're flying a nanobot through a human body.
In doing so, you are killing off the elements that are a part of the infectious disease.
And what was really interesting, the reason why he reached out to me was because he wanted to integrate the entire game experience with IBM's Watson.
Watson comes in and interacts with the student's game. And this is truly mind-blowing because now we're getting feedback from Watson through the gameplay. This is what hasn't been done yet. And this is what's truly significant because we're bringing cognitive computing into game design.
We actually have developed a game development ecosystem on our platform as a service, on IBM's Bluebags. And so what we did is we started to work directly with this particular class, giving them a recipe to follow with regards to not only how to stand up an instance of Minecraft on Bluebags, but also how to integrate it with different services available there, including our Watson services. You're a level designer too.
Yeah. Within this construct is the key or the code that will allow us to connect the dots between STEM game design, serious game design, and Watson.
What I'm drawing is actually a disease monster that is based off of tuberculosis. Whenever it catches you, it'll attack you, and you'll have periodic bleeding damage. And the only way you can fix it is finding vaccines.
They do the research, they create their own companies, they become their own project managers.
This class is giving us more than we signed up for. It's teaching us how to program, it's teaching us how to code, and it's teaching us how to make good teamwork skills.
Yeah, this isn't just a grade for us.
We're not learning for tests, we're actually learning for our own benefit. I want to become a writer or a coder.
I want to be in the group that makes the good product that really gets people to enjoy what we're trying to do.
This is a path that will lead me to exactly where I want to be. Art is a big part of it, and I express myself in art in a lot of different ways.
You can just create entire worlds for people to explore, or you can create little tiny stories for them to enjoy.
They are seeing their research come to life through the game. And once that happens, that's when full immersion takes place. That's when full engagement takes place. And that's the dream of every teacher, is to have that engaged classroom.
I do want to see one day that a game comes out that has one of my drawings or one of my ideas in it, and just see other people enjoying it. I think that would be just the greatest feeling in the world. And I think this is just the kickstart. This is just the beginning.
What I love the most about the medical Minecraft story is you really can't fake that kind of passion. These students of it are truly engaged, and even when they've moved on to post-medical Minecraft, they're doing some really, really cool work. The next area of specialization that Watson is focused on is data insights. So imagine that you can, the kind of data that you might be mining about users might be things like their skill level, or what kind of style of learning they prefer. What's the medium that they prefer. So if you have that kind of an engine that can mine this information about a student playing an online educational game, you can actually serve up the next level of a game that's highly suited to where that student is at that particular point So imagine you've got a child is sitting in front of the camera, they're building a structure, and you've got the AI asking, hey, are you building a robot? That looks awfully like a robot. It's got 2 legs, and it's got this body and this structure, and it can learn over time and really be able to engage differently with a child. Additionally, there's image recognition, so being able to look at somebody's face and understand sort of what their emotion is, or we've done some really cool projects with image recognition and drones. So programming a drone to recognize not only is it a male or female standing in front of you, but I can move my arms around in different ways and control how the drone dances around. Next area is speech. I'm going to show you a really quick video. If you wouldn't mind just jumping into the middle of it, it could be muted, and I'll just talk through it while you're playing. But in this case, you'll see an example of a VR environment where the players are speaking into the mic and they're saying what kinds of objects they want to see manifested in their world. So you might see a woman saying, a large ape or a small ape. I want to see a basketball. I want to see a bat. And you can move them around and you can associate physics associated with the different kinds of objects. Which means that in augmented reality, the AI can recognize, yes, this is actually a table, and I'm going to be able to put a virtual object on top of the table versus, through it or in a way where physics might make sense. So it's tremendously interesting then to see how AI might really be able to transform the world of VR. Again, not just in terms of speech, but everything else I just described to you, whether it's image or language or data insights. Oops. You can stop playing the video now. This next area is, and I know that the gentleman from Oracle was talking about chatbots. What I think is extremely interesting is the concept of an empathetic conversation bot. So imagine you don't just use a chatbot to be able to have a dialogue with you, but imagine that I can have a chatbot that's able to recognize what emotions I'm feeling, right? Am I angry? Am I sad? It is able also to gather data from any kind of an IoT device. So if I've got a wearable on, it's able to ask me, or rather, maybe curate a conversation based on information it's getting from my wearable. It can also be able to know my environment. I could scan my room and it can have a conversation with me about that too. So all of these things together really lends to having, again, a highly curated, highly personalized experience for people. And I'll give you a really quick example. I've got a business partner of mine, a startup, and he's making a disaster preparedness game for kids. And so he wanted his core IP to really be an empathetic conversation bot. It can sense what the likely ages of the child. It can sense what emotion the child is feeling. It could be on the mobile device so the child could just scan the room and go through different kinds of what-if scenarios and build a game with superheroes off of that. So tremendously cool. I mean, thinking about ways in which AI can really affect an experience and make it highly, highly, highly personalized. This is actually an example of what that high school in Texas is now doing with us, post-medical Minecraft. So do you remember the old toy, Hungry Hippos? It was a game, a really, really simple game where basically you're pressing on this lever and you've got this hippo eating marbles. Well, we actually hooked up Hungry Hippos to a cheap brain wave monitoring device. So we're monitoring EEG. And the only way you could get the hippos to eat the marbles is by going into a semi-meditative state. So if you get really, really calm and then suddenly your hippos will start eating these marbles. And what's interesting about this is it's a fantastic way of introducing AI and certainly IoT to kids
2 days ago, Marcus Winter walked into a police station with some blended photographs and a smile. Now sitting in the state-of-the-art interrogation room, and he will only torture you. The suspect is an interactive interrogation where participants must prove themselves smarter than a man with a mind as dangerous and yet as charming as Hannibal Lecter. The web experience gives you full access to the live CCTV feed from the interrogation room, the live chat window, and status updates on the victims and your progress. The mobile app has a live MRI brain scan that gives you insights into whether the suspect is lying, when you are pushing him too far, and when your interrogation techniques are getting through to him. In addition, it gives you access to a live police news feed with updates on whether the police have managed to save the potential victims, and interrogation advice from your police handler. The objectives of this project are to create an immersive work of dramatic fiction that uses the interactive medium as a storytelling platform. We have deliberately combined communications media of chat, mobile, and news to tell our story and to create an experience that feels as real as possible. For this project, we shot over 160 pieces of video, created an interactive soundscape, and brought together multiple front-end and back-end technologies to achieve our desired result. In essence, we wanted to create a production that shows the power of using digital media to tell interactive stories.
Okay, wonderful. So in summary, the whole point of this is how do you create experiences that are meaningful to people so that they can. And I like to call it making data science actionable. So there's so many words, and there's so many wonderful examples that I've seen of emerging of play and artificial intelligence. Everything that we've seen, so the hungry hippos demo, empathetic conversation bots, the work on some little work on drones. We've made a lot of these recipes, a lot of these demos publicly available. So I can certainly offer some links so that you can take a look at them yourself if you're ever interested in taking a peek at the code or some more examples that can be made available to you. Thank you again so much for your time. I do a weekly podcast called GamesAtWork.biz if you're interested in the space of serious games, gamification, and AI. And I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Vicky. And she has also passed through her AI demo for us, just in the booth behind. So later you can have a taste of the ingenious AI. Any questions?
Hi. You mentioned that through games you can learn how people solve problems, how they solve the problem in different ways. So can I understand that? Let's say if I want to train the machine to be a good fund manager, will it be possible that we can ask some fund manager to play some games to learn how they play the orders to the stocks or securities, and then train the machine to be a good fund manager? So what are some good examples of through games to learn the behavior or the problem solving? What are some good applications that you can quote?
I'm sorry. I couldn't hear the question, so I'm just reading what is being typed to me. Is it possible we can play serious games to train a fund manager? Wow, that's such an excellent question. some really cool prototypes of games that are training investment managers into optimizing their decisions. I believe that it would be quite profitable. I think that really, especially if you're thinking about strategy games, using some very sophisticated gaming engines, you can actually have them act as, think about it as a contextual whiteboard for better decision making, if you will. There's one gaming engine in particular that has the ability to allow each player to granularly manipulate time. So I can actually move backwards in time, change an investment decision, or change any kind of a decision really, and have that timeline propagate to everybody else's present. So it's a multiplayer real-time strategy game, and then effectively through this process you're optimizing decisions and seeing how it affects your broader portfolio. So I do think it's absolutely possible.
The question I love the Minecraft, because kids love Minecraft, right? So I was wondering how, I couldn't understand which elements of the AI was used in the Minecraft, and then secondly, whether it's open source.
Which AI element is used in Minecraft? Oh, okay. So in this case with Minecraft, they were connecting to the Watson Dialogue API that had been trained in how to treat tuberculosis, how to recognize symptoms of Ebola, etc. So it was a chatbot that had been trained in that particular history, that particular dialogue that the kids connected to. So we gave them that recipe for how to set up an instance of Minecraft on our cloud in order to be able to connect to that API. And that whole recipe is available for free online. So it's publicly available to schools. And that school system is sharing it now with other schools too. So they're doing a lot of really neat intra-classroom work on that project. Yes.
And this gentleman has the second last question. I'm Raptor, a developer, currently finding topic on PSS about AI and autonomous computing. There are various AI products like Decoder that do programming, AI that write novels and learn from the natural languages. My question is, what do you think, how will AI transform our world? Thank you.
How will AI transform our world? Oh goodness. I think that it is going to transform our world significantly. I see huge changes, kind of this technological tsunami coming. You see automation, you see robotics, you see artificial intelligence, and one of the most significant ways it's going to change our world is that the type of skill sets that are going to be needed. Like, for example, one of the things I'm really passionate about is education and the school system. I think about what kids are being taught today and how they're being taught, and I shudder because I don't feel that what we're teaching kids and how we're teaching them is in any way adequate for what's coming. So one of the big efforts that I personally have been doing, in addition to things like the medical Minecraft and working with these individual classrooms, is figuring out how to actually transform the culture within a classroom. It's not enough to just say, okay, here's curriculum around cyber defense and IoT. You actually have to change the culture of the classroom to really be much more entrepreneurial. I love intra-classroom projects, so having a classroom in Texas, being able to collaborate with an online makerspace in Hong Kong. I think these kinds of strategies and tactics for cultural transformation is absolutely key in order to plant the seeds for new them is going to be important. So thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
So I can be there in person.
Yeah, sure, thank you. And I think what we can do with AI to change our world is a very gracious ending of her wonderful sharing. So how about we give her a big round of applause for Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Yeah. And as our time is coming to an end, I'd like to now invite Dr. Ray and Laura to come to the stage here right now to present souvenirs to our speakers. Yeah, welcome. Thank you very much. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to welcome the Laura to come to the stage to receive the souvenirs. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. The way we make take a half first, we would like to take a photo of all. Okay. Okay. Then second, take a please. Thank you very much.
And next, we would like to welcome Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick. And may all the gentlemen take a photo together? Okay, all the gentlemen please, take the photos together. And don't forget our wonderful lady, Deidre, as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I think it's also a good time for us to take a group photo. So how about we, can we take a photo here? Okay, so maybe you can return to the seat first so that we can rally behind your back. So ladies and gentlemen, please find a good place behind our speakers and Garth and Dr. Ray so that we can have our faces in the camera. Yeah, so please go to the front, please, so make sure your face is captured. Please go to the front. And help us, please help to manage.
Come closer, please.
Yeah, come closer, please, so that we can have a group photo, please.
Please. Many empty chairs here. Please come.
Yeah, there's too many spaces in the front, so please go to the front so that make sure every smile is captured. Thank you very much. And one last reminder, so there are refreshment outside, you can help yourself to the refreshment, and there's also a showcase behind, so please don't miss all the showcase and the great food. So have a good night everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, and also for the people watching online. We have hundreds of people watching online tonight. Thank you.